I'm going to call the May 23rd regular meeting of Brattleboro Housing Partnerships. It's to be held on Zoom, operate in a hybrid format, combining both physical location and the ability to attend and participate in the meeting via Zoom. Meeting will come to order. We are on BCTV, recording for that, and we are still looking forward to Donna joining us. Alicia has a competing meeting, so wasn't able to be here today. First order of business is to review the minutes of April 25th, 2022. You all have them in your packet.
I'd like to move that we accept the minutes.
Thank you, Liz. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any additions, corrections? Only correction I would make, and everybody gets very correct about my name, except on number 4, Chair Kramer with a K instead of Kramer with a C. So that's the one correction I would like to make.
Yeah, all right. Yes, I did not catch that.
I'm a little bit more sensitive to it.
I don't. Oh.
And all those in favor of approving the minutes as circulated, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, approved. And resident and citizen participation. Have we any residents or citizens signing in? No. Up next is COVID update. It seems so out of date to say COVID-19 and COVID-22.
Yeah. The COVID update is that we are continuing to follow the same procedures we have been. We haven't changed our procedures at all since the last meeting, which is that we continue to wear masks when we're in the company of people, of residents, and whether it's in their apartments or meeting with them in an office. However, we are no longer requiring that staff wear them in common areas, and we're not requiring that residents wear them at this point.
Would you get notice of residents who have tested positive? Or are
We probably will not. We probably wouldn't unless they let us know. Many of our residents have been letting us know, but we haven't been getting a lot of reports as of recently.
Good.
Mhm.
It's, they do talk about a higher positivity rate in this county.
Mhm.
So,
And certainly staff does. So we have tests. So we continue to test staff, and we continue to staff continues to have themselves tested, and people do follow the state protocols and quarantine when they test positive.
great.
So we are still seeing cases every once in a while from staff, but we have had a great, the staff has been really excellent in following all of the procedures. And I think mask wearing around residents has really helped.
Good. So staff reports review, property managers report. The colors get even more intense each year. So 5 RAD vacancies, all at Hayes Court.
Mhm.
And Red Clover Commons, working with Vermont State Housing to fill the 2 vacancies. So that 1 in-house transfer, is that one of the vacancies, or I guess where they're coming from and going to?
We have 1 in-house transfer within the property.
Mhm.
They're going to a new apartment based on an accommodation.
Okay.
But that's not, we'll still have 2 vacancies,
Okay.
because once they fill that one, then their unit will be vacant.
Mhm. And on the, just turning the page, those who didn't. Oh, welcome.
Sorry, I was having technical issues and
Glad
I
you're
made it.
here.
thank you.
Welcome. We are just on looking at the property management and update in
Okay.
salmon color.
I have a question about the inspection process.
Yes.
Or haven't known about housing authorities. Or do we do our own housing quality standards inspection?
That's a great question. So we do our own inspections, and then we also have another set of inspections that are done for the RAD properties, the rental assistance demonstration, by an outside person. So we're trading with Springfield. So Springfield will be coming here to inspect 20% of our units, and we will be doing the same for Springfield. We're going to trade those services. But we do inspect all of our properties ourselves. We don't have to do it. We could just do the housing quality standard of 20% a year, but we do all of our inspections every year annually. And we try to bring the fire department with us at that time. We change out smoke detectors, if there are fire extinguishers, et cetera, at that time as well.
Thank you.
And the VRAP, or Vermont Emergency Rental Assistance Program, we have 41 residents actively participating. You see, it's a rather substantial amount of money, 188,000 plus, and 30,000 still in pending payments. Is this the end of it, or is there still more that may come?
I think as it extends, I think that some people might be reaching their maximum, which I believe is either 15 or 18 months, where they will meet the maximum amount and then they will no longer be eligible. But I believe that people continue to be eligible even past this month. People are still getting renewed if they haven't met the cap yet.
That's good. And the
I've got a question.
Performance.
I've got a quick question. Are they prompt in paying? I mean, you've got $30,000 in pending payments. Are they prompt in paying Brattleboro Housing Partnerships?
They are prompt. It just means there's a little bit of administrative time, but we have been receiving payments pretty quickly.
Okay.
Yeah. Although some people will be pretty far behind when they apply. So you'll really see that in the rent report, that there are still some big outstanding balances at some of our housing sites.
So what's circled is what has been collected rather than what hasn't been collected. And Hayes Court, and of course, Moore Court and Ledgewood Heights have been our chronic underpayers.
We have some really big balances at some of the housing sites. So specifically Moore Court and Ledgewood, we have some housing sites where people, some residents have not, are really behind in the rent, and they might not have applied for the VRAP program yet, or it's still in process. So those big balances really do create really do show the effect in this.
Christine, what about Red Clover Commons? I don't think that I've seen 70% before with them, or maybe I'm not remembering correctly.
You might be looking at Red Clover Commons 2.
Yeah.
So Red Clover Commons, I think historically in the past has had a very high rent collection rate. Red Clover Commons 2, it's a smaller building, so if one person is behind on their rent, it really would show up more, where there's only 18 apartments in that building, whereas Red Clover Commons has 55. So it really will show if we have a big deficit. If one person's really behind, it's going to show up more.
Makes sense.
SASH, Resident Wellness and Services Report.
Sounds to me like they're doing a great job.
Yes.
Yeah, like the exercise program they're doing for osteoporosis.
Mhm.
That's excellent. I think
And really,
residents really like the Bone Builders program. I heard it's really great.
and Bone Builders, Christine and I were talking about the Council on Aging, the Senior Solutions. Bone Builders came through that program originally.
Oh.
So that's good.
Are we underway in expanding in Bellows Falls?
We are. So it's great that you asked that. We actually had a meeting a little bit ago, right before this meeting. We met with Stewart Property Management at the Canal. Is it Canal House, Canal Street Housing in Bellows Falls, and we met with them to talk about embedding a SASH panel right in their housing sites. They said that they have over 40 units in that building, which I was surprised at. I didn't realize they had so many units. So we are planning on partnering with them, creating a memorandum of understanding to work with them to have a half panel base there. And they will be half panel there. And then we're still deciding what the other half panel will be, but they will be Brattleboro Housing Partnerships employees. So that we will be working with them to bring in somebody to work at that site. So I think it's going to be a great partnership.
Great.
Good. And do get in touch when you can with Parks Place.
Yes, absolutely. And I have that, Lorelei has that in her list. She is helping us to expand. Lorelei and Shauna are working together to expand that program together. This call was really about just finding out if they were interested. And I will say that they were extremely interested. They really were more than excited. And they do have a lot of experience with SASH because SASH is embedded at some of their other housing sites. And they also manage properties in New Hampshire and Maine. And they said that everyone in New Hampshire and Maine is always very jealous of SASH. They said it's supportive services on steroids. So they were very excited to have us there. So I think it's going to be a great partnership.
That's wonderful. Any comments on SASH Flash?
I'm always impressed with the SASH Flash.
Yeah, me too.
And their very wise advice on how to stay hydrated in this very hot weather.
That's right. That's right.
And the Everyone Eats program sounds awfully good.
Mhm. Yes, it's been a very helpful program to get through COVID and continue. The Housing Choice Administrator, Housing Choice Voucher Program, Shelter Plus Care, Transitions to Housing, blue. And will you tell David, I'm very impressed that he gives us a glossary at the bottom of each report.
Right.
It's
Yes.
very helpful.
It's very kind.
Right. And of course, these reports highlight how extremely difficult it is to find housing in Brattleboro.
Right. That's right.
But it does seem that the mainstream vouchers are making a difference in providing more choice on housing, or another way of saying it, providing to a wider variety of people choice on housing.
And I think the big benefit is also that they allow the subsidy to continue for some of our other programs, which, so people can really move from the Shelter Plus Care program onto the mainstream voucher when they no longer need those direct services to the same degree, which really frees up a space for somebody else who needs to have a voucher that comes with those direct services.
And where are most of the direct services coming from?
Groundworks, also HCRS and Pathways.
Right.
The collaboration with Winston Prouty sounds very helpful.
I hope so. I think that was a good way of us, even though we weren't going to be able to continue the transitions to housing program right for this year. I think that it keeps us in the game, and I think that we can then circle back and reapply again next year. But I think it's nice to keep that collaboration. I think it's important, and I think we're always looking at ways to collaborate and support each other. So I think it's going to be, I think it's a great way of doing it. So I'm happy they were wanting to do it as well.
And financial review, the end of fiscal year 21-22, comparable, you say, is still in process.
It's still in process. It actually was finished, but it didn't make it to the packet. So it is finished, the year-end review. And I will share that James Griffin, our fee accountant, came to visit us. I can't remember if it was last week or the week before, but he was here and spent the whole day with us to get and to prepare for our Brattleboro Housing Authority audit, and which we're just beginning right now for the fiscal year that ended March 30th. So he spent the whole day here going through files and working with us, and that was very helpful. And so he let me know at that time that they were still finishing the end of the year. So it has finished. So I will submit that with your board packet for next month. So you'll probably have 2. And we did complete the audits for the tax credit properties, A.W. Richards, RCC, and RCC2, and we have approved the drafts. However, they haven't been finalized. They are sent to Evernorth, and then once Evernorth signs off on them, we'll have the final copy, and then I will also submit those. So next month, expect a board packet that's heavy in financial review.
Probably heavy in many ways. And then the check listing. I've been doing checks this month, and I have noticed that the most hefty checks are left to the end with Zaluzny and all of the work that is being done at Melrose. On the other hand, it's remarkable to see the amount of work that has been done at Melrose.
Yes.
Yeah, I will say that even now, more so than ever, it's going so quickly. So even in the last week, they've started to fill in the ground on one side of the property, and you can really start to see what it's going to look like. And they should be beginning planting soon. So it's really it's really exciting. It's come a long way.
It includes some pretty high-tech work.
Very high tech. Yes, the engineers really, it has been really amazing with the engineers. And I think you can see from the engineer reports how helpful they are in their reporting. It's really been great to keep track by looking at the engineers, the construction reports.
Yes. And that's what we're looking at here, along with photographs, which are very helpful. You didn't have to have the diversion signage up, or not signage, or traffic lights up very long.
We didn't, which was great. It was good. They didn't need them for very long because they only really closed the road down for a couple of days, which was excellent. That was way shorter than we thought. We thought it was going to be, I don't know, some estimates were 3 weeks, a month. So it's great.
Could I go backwards for just a second and volunteer for the July check signing?
Great. Yes.
Thank you. And board business, an update on the board orientation committee. We've already talked a little bit about it, but
Well, we have met couple of times. Our last meeting covered a review, finalized information of the town and Brattleboro Housing Partnership website,
Mhm.
and finalizing the briefing materials, reviewing onboarding procedures, and planning for meeting with other members to discuss how to communicate information. We're not going to give those final, all written out data until the select board approves our request. And they have to check with their lawyer.
Mhm.
That
Guess they're in a little bit of turmoil at the
they
moment.
are, and it's probably going to take a little time. But to put out what we want on the website, we have to know that it's either required or suggested
Mhm.
that a new applicant meet with the chair and the executive director. And so the language of all that will be incorporated.
Great.
And so we can't really complete any of this until we get that.
Okay.
But anyway, we've got the outline and the material all in process. And like on the website, just for example, things to have accessible by a link, like the 5-year plan, moving to work, wellness services, responsibilities of the commissioner, attendance, check signing, bringing all issues to the ED and the board, map and location of community rooms and all housing locations for meetings. I mean, all this kind of stuff would be available to the applicant.
What a
And,
great job you both are doing. How much
So,
I appreciate
but we
that.
don't want to give you a final page by page, this is it, until we get the select board's approval.
But
So
thank
anyway,
you.
that's
both.
where we are.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
BHOI update. I think probably needs to come from Christine.
I think Byron has one more thing to say.
Sorry, Byron.
Oh,
Thank you.
it was just that I think it's important that we get those briefing materials to people before the chair and executive director meet with them. Otherwise, you'll waste a lot of time going over stuff.
Yeah, and that can be done on the website, or it can be done as they inquire.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a good point, Brian. And Brian, did I miss anything that we have discussed in our meetings? Okay.
And since Donna may not have known, because you came in after Christine said that she had met with Melissa Shine, if I remember her name correctly.
Melissa Swim.
Swim.
I think Donna stepped out for a second.
Oh, okay.
How do you spell her last name?
SWIM.
Okay.
I may have given, because that's what I thought I heard, I may have given it incorrectly.
It's hard for me to keep track. I have so many names to my head sometimes.
So what I may have leaped ahead on the 8th part of the agenda on projects in progress. The engineer flood mitigation, we talked about the engineering reports, development planning application. Can you fill me in on that, or fill us in on that?
Yes, so Chris Hart, myself, and another person in the community, Adam Hubbard, are working on an application to apply for a planning grant specifically to look at Melrose Terrace and to look at what the options would be for Melrose Terrace. And a big part of that will be including the board members in deciding who we really want to have these discussions with. I would really, in the application, we're going to identify that we would like to have discussions with people searching in the community for Section 8 with a Section 8 voucher, as well as people that we've moved to Red Clover Commons that had wanted a Section 8 voucher but couldn't find housing. Also talking to other of our residents, talking to community members. So having discussions around what what people are really hoping for in this type of housing. We'll also look at, obviously, the town housing study. We'll look at other studies, but we really wanted to use some of this funding to facilitate some community conversations, to really start to have these, discussions with community members to get a clearer understanding of what we're really looking for in the community.
How much will the flood designation or flood area designation limit what's possible?
Well, I think that's a great question. I think that we're planning with the idea that the remaining acreage of land, the 3.5 acres of land, will be out of the floodway.
Okay.
And that's our hope. And we're putting that in the grant. That's our hope. And I think our fear is that if we wait too long for the reallocation, then we're just going to be behind 6 months or a year. So we really want to get ahead so that we're ready to move on an application sooner. So I think that it's time now. I think that it would have been too early a year ago. I think this is good timing.
Excellent. Certainly good people working on it.
Mhm.
And then SASH for all.
SASH for all. So again, we got that. We received the funding for the pilot, and we're just in the process of still setting up and trying. We will be posting the job. We have not posted it yet. Right now, we're filling. We have 4 jobs openings that we are trying to fill, and we've been really working hard at it. We've put a staff member on that pretty much full time to just work on hiring another person for our maintenance team, another admin person for the office, filling that education and education position.
Which used to be the, now I can't say it.
The FSS position.
FSS, yes.
Yep. So filling that position, and then this will be, and then another position for SASH. So we have a sort of little timeline of the position. So the priority right now is maintenance, office, and the family self-sufficiency grant funding. And then once we're getting closer to that, then we're going to begin advertising for the other 2 positions.
So that the SASH in the Canal House and the half panel SASH going somewhere is over and above SASH for all.
I think that we're going to be hiring at the same time,
Okay.
with the understanding that we were hoping to orient people at the same time. We're trying to figure out deliberately how to orient, how to have an orientation for people as they come in. And so we really found that having those other positions in place will then help us to then hire for these positions so that we can focus just on their orientation. SASH also will do a lot of the pieces in the orientation, but we really want to get these other 3 positions filled before we advertise for the SASH positions.
And I've come to the end of the agenda. Anything that commissioners want to add or for new business?
I'd like to, since Donna's back, a little bit of a discussion about who she's referred to with the board.
Oh, yes, I was going to mention that. Melissa Swim works at the bank in the mortgage department. And she is interested, and she said to me today that she had connected with Christine and got some information and was going to take a look at all of that, but she really wants to do it. So I think, I've served with her on a couple of, I don't know if it's two other committees within the bank. And, she's very eager to participate and volunteer, and she's got a lot to offer. So I think it's perfect that she take my place. So that's basically what I wanted to convey to everybody. I had to take a call from a doctor, so I'm sorry about that, but
It's all right.
I'm glad you got back, and thank you for Liz for asking that question. That's important.
Well, thank you, Donna, for
Yeah.
finding somebody that's within the financial world to, be aboard. That's wonderful. And I'm very glad that she's interested.
yeah, I think it'll be a good fit. And I even asked her, if she might want to attend the June meeting so I could introduce her. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
That'd be
but
great.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
up to Christine
Yeah,
and,
no, absolutely. Yep, absolutely. And I'll send her that information as well. I'll send that today.
okay, great,
Thank you, Donna.
sure.
Any new business?
I think the only thing I would go back to is BHOI. Alicia is not here. However, we were able to, it took a long time for some reason for the insurance company to really understand how it works as a subsidiary. It's not a subsidiary. And so we have, they had sent it to underwriters, and we do have a policy that I think seems very reasonable for what this is. So I did send it to Alicia last week. I haven't heard from her yet, but I asked her to review. And I said that, I think by accepting this policy, then we can start applying for some funds. And then if we find that we really need a different type of coverage or more coverage, when we have the board up and running, then that would be a board decision to review that information. So I think this is a good place to start. So I did send her that information, and hopefully if I hear back from her, we can get that we can get that signed and paid for. And then because we did receive some grant funding that we would need a certificate of insurance to accept.
Okay.
And that grant funding was specifically about working with an organization around the waterway at Melrose Terrace to do education around the waterway.
And it's certainly increasing the board, and the Brattleboro Housing Opportunities, Inc. will be part of the work that I trust will happen, because it has been kind of quiescent for a long time.
Mhm.
Anything we haven't covered that needs to come back?
I just have
Yes, Byron?
a question for Christine. How the hell do you do it?
I don't know. I don't know. Someday I ask myself that question. I don't know. There's a lot of different pieces, but I really love it, and I really care about the population, the people that we serve in our community. And I think it's, for me, it's what gets me out of bed is serving the residents, because I do know how important our housing is to them. And every day I realize how hard it would be if we didn't have this type of housing in Brattleboro. And
Oh, yeah.
it would be impossible. So, I think I'm looking forward to the next few years to looking at our property sites and hopefully improving some of the sites that we have now and making them even nicer. And so I think it's exciting to me, because I think we have a lot, there's always a lot of work to do. So it's not boring.
Well, I'm just realizing that both Donna and I will be leaving the board at the end of next month. And I'm so excited that we have the people that we do here. If Donna's nomination of Melissa, I called her Shine and Swim, and I have no idea who might step forward for another position on the board. I invite all of the board members to think about people that they know and to recruit people to step forward for this position, because not for a position, there's not an assignment. And so whoever is going to come into the board is going to learn the same way I do, slowly. So I will happily entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
All right.
I'll second it.
Thank you very much. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no, and thank you. Donna, it's so good to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you all.
That's absolutely great.